Are you tired of hearing it? That classic line, if you just stopped buying that $7 coffee, you could afford a house by now. Let's be brutally honest for a second. That idea isn't just outdated. It's one of the biggest lies of our modern economy. And today, we're going to talk about why that little coffee isn't a financial failure, but a quiet act of rebellion. If you've ever bought a small pleasure to get through a tough day, then you've participated in what the internet is calling treat culture. And right now, from Reddit threads on our gens to heated debates on X, this idea is absolutely exploding. It seems simple, but trust me, it's unpacking a whole universe of economic anxiety, generational divides, and the silent survival tactics of a generation. So, let's get into it. Look, I see you. I see you scrolling through job postings that want 10 years of experience for an entry-level salary. I see you looking at apartment listings and doing the math, realizing half your paycheck would just evaporate for a place the size of a closet. You're playing a game where the difficulty setting was cranked up to impossible right before you were handed the controller. And yet, the advice you get feels like it's from a different century. Just make your coffee at home. It's so frustrating, isn't it? Because you've done the math. You know that the cost of a daily coffee for a year doesn't even come close to a single month's rent in most major cities, let alone a down payment. It feels like a fundamental misunderstanding of the world you're living in. The social contract your parents or grandparents had go to school, get a good job, buy a house, retire comfortably feels like a fantasy novel. It's not that you're not trying, it's that the finish line keeps getting moved further away while you're being told to just run faster. And it feels like more than just the goalposts moving. It feels like the rules of the game itself were rewritten without anyone giving you the new manual. You're playing chess against an opponent who can suddenly decide your pawns can only move backward. You're running a race where the track beneath your feet sometimes turns to sand. This creates a specific kind of exhaustion, not from the effort, but from the uncertainty. You can't strategize for a game when the rules are constantly in flux. So what happens? You start to feel a sense of, well, what's the point? This feeling is what we can call economic fatalism. It's this deep-seated belief that no matter how hard you save, those big, life-defining goals are just permanently out of reach. And in that gap between the life you were told you should have and the life you can actually afford, treat culture is born. It's a quiet whisper that says, okay, maybe I can't have the house with the white picket fence, but I can have this amazing slice of pizza tonight. I can buy that indie video game I've been eyeing. It's not about being bad with money. It's about seeking a return on your existence. It's about finding pockets of joy and control in a system that offers very little of either. It's a coping mechanism, plain and simple. From a psychological standpoint, this makes perfect sense. Our brains are wired for reward. The concept of delayed gratification, saving now for a bigger reward letter, only works when you believe that bigger reward is actually achievable. When it's not, your brain quite logically pivots. It says, okay, long-term reward is off the table. Let's find a short-term one. That little treat to coffee, the takeout, it's a dopamine hit, a real neurochemical event that provides pleasure and satisfaction in a world of abstract, impossible goals. The little treat is concrete. It's real. You can hold it, taste it, experience it right now. Okay? This neurochemical hit is tied to something even deeper, a feeling of agency. In a world where your career path, your housing situation, and your long-term future can feel dictated by massive impersonal forces, the simple act of choosing a blueberry scone over a chocolate croissant is a microdose of control. It's a small, enclosed decision-making loop from desire to choice to outcome that you own entirely. For that one moment, you are the sole architect of your own small satisfaction, and in a world that denies you control over the big things. That small feeling can be incredibly powerful, but it's deeper than just brain chemistry. This is also a cultural rebellion. For years, we've been swimming in hustle culture. The mantra was, work harder, sleep less, monetize your hobbies. Your worth was directly tied to your productivity. Treat culture is the quiet, exhausted backlash to that. It's a movement that says, my well-being is not a reward I get after I've been productive. It's a prerequisite to a life worth living. It's a small but powerful act of prioritizing your own mental health over the relentless demand to just do more. And let's be real about the math. A fancy coffee is $7. To save $20,000 for a down payment, you'd need to skip 2,857 of them. That's one coffee every single day for nearly 8 years. To suggest that is the primary barrier to homeownership is, frankly, absurd. What we're seeing is a massive disconnect. One generation sees an irresponsible purchase. The other sees a calculated act of self-preservation. It's not a failure of financial literacy. It's a rational response to a new economic reality. Ultimately, it's not just a disconnect of numbers. It's an empathy gap. Older generations aren't necessarily being malicious. They're often giving advice based on a map of a world that no longer exists. They remember a time when the path from point A, hard work, to point B, stability, was a relatively straight line. They can't see the new obstacles on your map, the rock slides of inflation, the rising rivers of student debt, the detours of a precarious job market because those landmarks weren't there when they made their journey, so they assume you're just not walking straight enough. Okay? This isn't about giving up. It's about adapting. It's about recognizing that if the traditional markers of success are no longer available, you have to find new ways to measure a good life. And sometimes that measurement is as simple as one really good cup of coffee. So where do we go from here? The path forward isn't about letting treats drain our bank accounts, but about transforming them from an unconscious escape into a conscious tool for a better life. Here's a 3-step plan to do just that. First, practice mindful indulgence. Before you buy that treat, just pause and ask, what's the why behind this? Are you trying to numb a difficult feeling? Or are you genuinely celebrating a small win? One is a band-aid to escape your life. The other is a vitamin to enhance it. A treat should be an expression of your agency, not a reaction to your powerlessness. Next, expand your definition of a treat. It doesn't have to cost money. A treat can be giving yourself 30 minutes to listen to an album, distraction-free, right? It can be a walk in a new park. It can be deleting your work email app for the weekend. The goal is to capture the feeling of a reward, not just the purchase. And this leads to the most important point. It's time to redefine what a successful, happy life means to you. The old script is dead. You get to write a new one. Maybe your version of wealth isn't a retirement fund, but the freedom to pursue a passion. Maybe your big goal isn't a house, but saving enough to travel for 6 months. When you're crystal clear on what truly matters to you, your habits start to align. That little treat is no longer a consolation prize for a life you can't have. It becomes a small, joyful part of the unique, meaningful life you are actively building. You're not irresponsible. You're resourceful. You're not lazy. You're adapting, right? You are finding joy, meaning, and control in a world that makes all three incredibly difficult to hold on to. You are crafting a life on your own terms. And you, my friend, are the artist.